A bunch of limits here, 5, 6, and 7. So for 5, we're asked for the limit as x goes to 5 of x minus 5 over x squared minus 2x minus 15. First thing, let's just plop in 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 squared is 25 minus 2 times 5. 25 minus 10 minus 15 also gives us 0. We're in the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. So let's do some manipulation. The most obvious thing to do is to try to factor the denominator. And so x squared minus 2x minus 15 is going to factor as x minus 5 times x plus 3. And so then this allows us to cancel out the factors of x minus 5. And we are just left with the limit as x goes to 5 of 1 over x plus 3. And now, when we plop in 5, when we substitute in 5, we don't get 0 over 0. We get 1 over 8. So our final answer to problem number 5 is 1/8. For problem number 6 here, now we need to evaluate this limit. So that's the limit as x goes to 0 of 4x plus 1 squared minus 1, all of this over x. So if we plug in x is 0, we get 4 times 0 is 0, plus 1. So 1 squared minus 1 is 0, over x is 0. Again, we have a 0 over 0 indeterminate form. What do? Let's do some algebraic manipulation, just as before. And this time, let's expand out the 4x plus 1 quantity squared. 4x plus 1 quantity squared is going to be 16x squared plus 8x plus 1 minus 1, all of that over x. Okay, let's look for cancellations. The plus 1 and minus 1 cancel here. And upstairs, we have a factor of x. So let's get rid of this factor of x here. I shouldn't say get rid, but let's factor out. The limit as x goes to 0 of x times 16x plus 8, all of that over x. Those cancel, and so we are just left with the limit as x goes to 0 of 16x plus 8. At this point, there's nothing wrong with plugging in x is equal to 0 here. And so we just end up with 16 times 0 plus 8, which is just 8. Okay. 2 down, 1 to go in this video set. So the last one is the limit as x goes to 0 of 9x cosine of 2x over sine of 4x. Limit as x goes to 0 of 9x cosine of 2x over sine of 4x. Okay, so once again, let's plop in x is equal to 0 here. 9 times 0 times cosine of 0 is 1. So 9 times 0 times 1 is 0. Sine of 4 times 0, sine of 0 is also 0. So once again, we're at a 0 over 0 indeterminate form. Okay, so what to do here? So let me do a little bit of sideboard work. We need to recall the following important limit. The limit as h goes to 0 of sine h over h is equal to 1. The limit as h goes to 0 of sine h over h is equal to 1. Now, I can make a substitution here. I'm going to do 2 things to make this look more like this. The first substitution I'm going to do is I'm going to replace h with 4x. Why 4x? I want to match the sign of 4x over here. So this is now the limit of sine of 4x over 4x is equal to 1. That part doesn't change. This is the limit as 4x goes to 0, but if 4x is going to 0, that's just the limit as x goes to 0. So it's true that the limit as x goes to 0 of sine of 4x over 4x is also equal to 1. And then finally, the other little sideboard calculation I want to do here is the limit as x goes to 0 of 4x over sine of 4x. I'm making this change to make it look more like this because this, the sine of 4x is in the denominator over here. Well, by our limit laws, our limit calculations, this is the limit as x goes to 0 of so sine of 4x over 4x raised to the negative first power. And so this is just going to be 1 over 1, which is just 1. So the limit as x goes to 0 of 4x over sine of 4x is equal to 1. Let's go back over here and tease out a 4x over sine of 4x. So limit as x goes to 0 of, I'm going to write this as 4x over sine of 4x. So we know that this limit here is going to equal 1. And I'm going to split off what is left over. We have a cosine 2x factor. We have a 4 here when we have a 9 here. So let's multiply by 9 over 4. So now realize that this expression here is exactly the same as this expression, but it's written in this way that we can invoke the product law for limits. We can invoke the product law for limits in this way. So we know by our sideboard calculations over here, we know that this limit here is 1. And limit as x goes to 0 of cosine 2x, that's a nice easy thing. That's going to be cosine of 2 times 0, so cosine 0 is 1. So this is 1 times 9/4. Okay, so that was 3 limits to relatively straightforward one that you just get by doing straightforward algebraic manipulation. The second one you get to by knowing limit as h goes to 0, sine h over h is equal to 1. That's just a good one to know.